So I have been thinking a lot about what it means to create at this time in my life. I have, we all create through our entire lives, even as little babies, we are creating connections with the people in our environment, then we start to create art and all this stuff. But really, there has been this understanding of the world that I have formed a sense of myself, who I am, that is both rooted in an internal place, but also external place. And I know this can sound a little convoluted, and you're like, what is she saying? What's going on? Just bear with me. Because I have learned over the years now, I will be 30 soon, that the way that I convey my thoughts, my ideas, my soul's essence changes depending on who I'm with, where I am, what I'm around. And it's not to say that I'm a different person, right? Because who I am at the core is solid, right? My roots, my ancestry, my personality, my values, my point of view, that is ever present within me. However, oh wow, the AC is done blowing blast, But I grew up speaking and conveying my thoughts a certain way, expressing myself a certain way. And then I came to the States and I learned to also convey myself in a different way. And then I learned different languages. Je parle français, aussi hablo en español. It's like you learn to code switch. That's basically what it is, code switching, translating who you are into different contexts in a way that makes sense for other people. And I'm at this point in my life where I'm really trying to figure out to, and this, as I'm speaking now, this is just a stream of consciousness. I don't even know if I'm going to put this on YouTube. This is a stream of consciousness, but I remember when I first come to the States, I was listening to people talk, right? And I already had this like accent that I got from like TV and YouTube, and like, you learn and piece things together. But I remember I was hearing people speak in a certain way, and there was a small group of people I realized who never code switch, right? They weren't talking like this in one context and then like yo 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 in another context, or like this in another context. Their accents were multifaceted, and they would just speak, and you would hear different parts of their life story in a sentence. So for example, or in a conversation, like, so for example, a lot of what I know about mathematics is from the Caribbean, right? You have to take mathematics in school, reading, writing, arithmetic. That's what I say. So even when I count, I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because that is the context in which I learned to count. So when I reference a number, that is usually going to come out if I'm not like thinking about it. However, I got to university and I studied international relations. So I didn't take any math classes in university. Like that's just how it is. Like it was not necessary for me to get my degree, so I didn't. However, in that context, I learned a lot more about history and governance. I'd always liked that anyway. I studied it my whole life. History, governance, the perspective of, you know, the United Nations and their role in geopolitics and socioeconomic statuses of people in multiple countries. Like, so if I'm speaking now in a conversation about life, my accent, based on what I studied about these people who never code switch, it was so fascinating to me. My natural accent would come out when I speaking about numbers. But then when I am talking about these world events, this is coming out. It's not so much code switching, it's just being honest about the context in which you learned certain things. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I just feel like at this point in my life, I kind of do it subconsciously, right? When I go home to my family, this is how I speak the majority of the time. And when I'm in the States or I'm talking to people that I know from there, this is also how I speak with them. But it's like this weird thing where I don't even think about it now. And people will ask, where are you from? I say, I'm from the Virgin Islands. Yeah, till I die. But I tell them that, and they're like, you don't have an accent. And these are people who do not understand. It is like this silent gentrification of yourself when you learn to code switch. Because you have to understand in order to code switch that in the dominant Western economic neo-colonial blah 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 framework, that how you communicate is not seen as professional enough or intelligent enough, even though you are professional, even though you are intelligent. It's within. But you learn that in this context, it's not seen as such. So then you have to understand how to craft your words and your mannerisms and your expressions and even the way that you decorate and adorn your body. I used to wear like less jewelry because I didn't want to be seen as gaudy. I used to have short nails. No, I don't care. I'm fabulous. And I look like my grandma and my mom and my aunties I grew up with. Like I wish I had more gold. I wish my nails were longer, but I'm growing them out. These are my natural nails. Besides the point, you learn that who you are inherently or how you express yourself inherently is not seen as, XYZ. So you sort of contort how it comes out. At your core, you're still the same person, right? I'm still the same. I'm still Deja. No matter how I speak, no matter if I choose to have this accent when I communicate with people or I choose to talk like this, like it's still the same person. Still the same person. But now I'm tired of it. And it's weird because, like I said, it's unconscious. It is an unconscious switch that I have. I'm just watching people through the window, so I'm being a little nosy as I'm filming this. This is so random. I did not plan to film this, but just made me start thinking about like how we communicate with the world, how that shows up in our day to day. I have a hair too. You can't see it here. Okay. I'm distracted. I need to go eat lunch, but I just want there to be a world where people could understand that, and this is so simple, right? We over here as humanity creating all of this bullshit that we don't need, like artificial intelligence. We have so much human intelligence from all around the world that shows up in various, skin colors and religions and point of views and accents that as a group people are not willing to accept, but they're willing to accept a machine being intelligent. That stuff is crazy. But anyway, I think that it's time, and I've already come to this conclusion. So many people have, but it's time to accept that people do not have to assimilate. I think there's a general sort of assimilation that we all need to do, right? Just to like respect other people and treat them with humanity. But it's like this, what's it called? Oh, there's two terms for it. Ethnocentrism versus Eurocentrism. Eurocentrism is the understanding that um, Europe and America, its ideals, its ways of showing up in the world, all of those codes are what is right, what is proper. It's literally the ideology of imperialism and colonialism. Ethnocentrism and multiculturalism is an understanding that every single culture and group of people has their own standards and mores of how to show up and communicate. And although it's different, it's also correct because it developed within the context of those people, their environments, the food that they have, the music, the dance, everything. And the world still operates on Eurocentrism and I guess American exceptionalism, whatever. America's like the badass misbehaving kid of the most pretentious people that you know. That's literally how it is. Was never told no, and now the parents are like, why are they acting like this? Oh my God, this is not how we raised little Jimmy. This is exactly how you raised America, Europe. This is exactly, you see what's going on? Anyway, that's besides the point. The world is not caught up because the dominant powers within the old, dying, crumbling matrix don't want to give validity to people who don't fit within the standard deviation of whatever they deem to be proper. However, they love to come, they love to watch us, they love to absorb the knowledge, the melanin, the rhythm, the wisdom, say it's backwards, even though they admire it and they want it, try to quell it within us, right? And then sell it back to us. Nothing a ghost. Nothing a ghost. Yeah, that's where I'm at now. Not intolerable. So na 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 nothing to go. So na na na. Yeah, so this is my journey. I don't feel like I'm gonna be you're never gonna get it 100% right. And I just noticed in the grocery store too, like again, chatting up people, being very sociable. I'm an introvert, but I grew up again, like I said, in the Virgin Islands. You talk to people. So I go to the grocery store, the person who's ringing me up, I'm gonna talk to them. Hello, how are you? How's your day? How's your family? Because that's common humanity. But it always confuses people in the States. They're like, why are you talking to me? Not like they don't want it, but they're not used to it. It's not the culture here to look at people. They just look away. It's very strange for me. And I've been living in and out of the States for about 10 years now as an adult. It's very strange. But I just noticed like that was the pattern. I'm talking to them and I'm like, hey, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. We're chatting about the weather. And then something happened and I said something in, the VI accent. It was very hard. They were like, huh, I've never heard anyone pronounce that word that way. Where are you from? And then it started to unfold, and I was like, huh, how much am I code switching unconsciously because that's what was programmed to me in this environment. But then certain things you can take the girl out of the island, but you can never take the island out of the girl, especially in certain things that come up. So yeah, that's my goal, to just code switch less and let things come out how they're supposed to come out, right? Instead of, and this is going to be a long healing process too. Let's implement some of my tools, my nervous system regulation tools, my somatic healing tools, and create safety in the body to express that way. I am so curious to see how this is going to unfold. But yeah, those are just some thoughts, actually. Now that I have my groceries, another accent that came out. I learned this actually as a kid. I heard a tourist come and they were speaking like this, and I was like, oh, I like that. And I sought to mimic them. I'm also looking at there's an office building across the way, and I can see somebody walking and speaking in their office. It's very nice. I like their art. But anyway, um, let's see what's gonna come out. Create some safety in the body to remind myself. As an adult, I'm chill with, but there's obviously some younger part of me, that girl who wanted to seem like, she was intelligent, even though she was, right? Even though I am, no matter how I show up, right? But wanted to fit this dominant stereotype of what an intelligent person sounded like, or how they express themselves, how they look, how they dress. Now I don't care. I'm gonna be But yeah, obviously that part of me inside still needs to continue to feel safe to unlearn this, to express myself fully. And that's that. So, like I said, I was grocery shopping. I'm actually very hungry, but I had to film this. Something in me was like, film this. Even if I never post it, it was something that I needed to express for myself. If I do post this to YouTube, then like, comment, subscribe. Let me know below. Do you code switch? What is your experience like in assimilating and trying to communicate in a certain way to be taken seriously? Do you still do it? Have you stopped? Like, what is this like? And how does it make you feel? Try to dig deep into that and let me know. I would love to have a discussion in the comments because I feel like yeah, that's it. Peace.